Hello everyone, welcome to the first exercise in the first steps on Stradella Bass course. This is a set of 10 instructions that is targeted at absolute beginners on the accordion. And I have with me this 120 bass accordion. This might look confusing, but it's very logical. And with the proper method, and if you spend the time with it, this is going to make a lot of sense with this. So without further ado, let's get started with this lesson. So the first exercise is going to focus on the C bass note, the C major chord, and also the C and C major chord 4/4 rhythm. And this is a 120 bass accordion, which is the standard configuration on any full-size accordion. And you might have an accordion that has different number of bass buttons. And even on a 12 bass accordion, most of these exercises should be playable. So if you actually look at this, the 120 is arranged as 20 rows here. I'm going to call these as rows, these slightly slanted lines, and I'm going to call these as columns, and 6 columns. So there's 6 times 20, which is 120 bass buttons, and the top 2 columns are individual notes. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And you don't have to worry about how I did that. We're not going to be doing any of that in this lesson. So the 2 columns that are closest to the bellows. So we have the keyboard on this side. So the 2 columns that are closest to the bellows have individual notes, and the 4 columns that are after, so that are closer to your palm, are chords. C major, C minor, C dominant 7, C diminished 7th. So we need to find our C on the left hand. So how do we find it? If you play any instrument that has 6 of these columns, in that case, the column that is closest to the bellows is called the counterbass, and the column that is one step away from it is called the fundamental bass. So we are going to find the C on the fundamental bass. So if you have a layout in which you don't have the counterbass, for example, if you play a 12 bass accordion, a 12 bass accordion only has these 2 columns. So we don't have this column, the one that is closest to the bellows, and we don't have the 3 columns that are away from the bellows. So this is the only thing that you'll have. So in that case, your fundamental bass is the one that is closest to the bellows, and then you have chords below that. So how do I find the C? So the C is located right in the middle on the fundamental bass. And how do we find it? That accordions have their C bass button marked. So if you take a closer look, you can see that these surfaces are just smooth and rounded outwards, but this button is caved inwards. Some accordions put like a stone over here, a crystal that you can feel. Some just have a depression over there. So it's about in the middle on the fundamental bass row, and then you can feel it. And I should also mention that there are 2 other buttons that are marked. One over here, which is the E, and the other one over here, which is A flat. So the E and the A flat are marked. So, but the E and the A flat are not in the middle. Look at this, is like closer to the top, and this is closer to the bottom. There should be one in the middle. So if you can feel like 3 marked buttons this is the one that is in the middle. So that's where you find the C, and after you find the C, you can actually play the C on the right hand to make sure that you found the right note. So C bass and C treble on the right hand. You can play those together. They match. If you were playing E instead, let's say you landed on E and you just assume that this was C, it's going to be a different note. And if you landed on the A flat instead, that is also not going to match. It should be this sound. So that is C bass, right? So now let's look at how to locate the C bass on the sheet music. So we have the bass clef here. This is the symbol that lets you know that this is on the left hand. We are playing the lower pitch notes that are available on the left hand. And this is called the bass clef. And 4/4 is the time signature, which just says that there are 4 beats and each of the beats is a quarter note. We'll have a look at that later. So you find the C bass on the second space that is above the bottom line. If you're an absolute beginner who has not had any prior introduction to sight reading or sheet music, this is for you. So you find it on the second space. So there are like 5 lines in total, and there's a space above the first line, and then there's a second line, and then there's a space above the second line. So that's where you find your C on the bass clef. It's going to be different for the right hand. We're not going to worry about that now. So this is the C bass. And sometimes on some publications, the C bass might be marked an octave lower, and the C bass might be marked there. But in our exercises, we are always going to have those on the second space. So now, let us get started with this exercise. So what we're going to do is play the C bass note for 4 beats, and then release it, press it again, play it for 4 more beats, release it, press it again, play it for 4 more beats, release it, press it again, and play it for 4 more beats. And then for every 2 measures, we're gonna change the bellows direction. So for the first 2 times that we're gonna do this, we're gonna open the bellows, and for the next 2, we're gonna close the bellows. The order in which I'm doing this is actually very, very important, because if you are still holding on to your bass, when you start switching your bellows, it's not gonna sound good, and it's gonna sound like a hiccup. Let's have a listen to that. So we should always release the button before we decide to change bellows direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is it. So I used my finger 3, which is my middle finger. Finger 1 is the thumb, 2 is the index finger, 3 is the middle finger, 4 is the ring finger, 5 is the pinky. So try to play the fundamental bass with finger 3 and then repeat it again with finger 4. So we just did that with finger 3. Now let's do the same with finger 4. I'm going to count in again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is it. We're not going to be using the metronome yet. We'll be doing that when we get to the rhythm section. To the next part where we are going to be playing the chord. So in accordion sheet music convention, we do write chords a little differently. So we don't really write all the notes that go on a chord. A C major chord basically has the C, E, and G. And that's a triad. But in accordion convention, we don't really mark all of the three notes. We just mark the C on a higher octave. But we're not going to spend too much time on explaining why this is the C in the higher octave, because that's beyond the scope of this lesson. But we still look at this and we are going to recognize this as the C higher octave. So the C higher octave means that it is a chord. And for this exercise, we're going to play a major chord over there. And in accordion sheet music, you can have the chords always marked as majors, minors, sevenths, or diminished. And for this exercise, we're only going to be playing majors. So at first, I want you to play the major using finger number 2, which is the index finger. So you're going to find your C bass using your third finger, which is the middle finger. And then you have to find the C bass right here. And that might be a little bit tricky for you because your finger might land here or here or here sometimes. But let me show you a way to make sure that you got it. So put this third finger on C bass, and then you might even sit in front of a mirror when you do this for the first time to get the hang of it. And then put your fourth finger, the second finger, which is the index finger, right next to it. So we're like below the the counterbass on the foundation, on the fundamental bass row. So we're not gonna play this yet. So this is not the note. And then you like swing your second finger by rubbing against your third finger. And drop it down and trace the shape of your third finger. And the button that you hit right below it will be the C major. If you swing it away from it, you're gonna go to a different button, that is this, but it's right underneath. So it's like tucking behind the third finger. It's like you're hiding behind it. So that's your C major. You can play it. It should sound like this. It shouldn't sound like this. That is different. And it shouldn't sound like this, which is a C minor. That's too far away, right? That's just too much space. When you're playing C and C major, your fingers should be right next to each other, and the nail on the second finger should almost be rubbing against the flesh that is behind the nail on your third finger. So that is C major chord. And we also want to be able to find that using the third finger. Put the fourth finger on C bass, and then use the same method, and then trace the shape of your fourth finger and tuck it under, and you found C major. So now we're going to repeat this using fingers 2 and fingers 3, fingers 2 and 3. Same deal, we're going to play 4 whole notes, which are for 4 beats each, and we're going to switch the bellows after the second measure. And every time the measure changes, we're going to release the hand and release the finger and bring it back. So now let's do that with finger 2 first. I'm going to count in 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's do that with the third finger now. So I put my fourth finger on C, swing it around, tuck it under. 1, So we're not using the metronome yet. We will be using it on this line. So now, remember that I asked you to play the C bass and C chord with like 2 different fingers, right? So the C bass, we played it with fingers 3 and 4. The C chord, we played it with fingers 2 and 3. The reason for that is that there are 2 popular methods that accordion players use to play rhythm patterns on the left hand. So the rhythm pattern is what we play as an accompaniment for the melody on the right hand. So for this rhythm pattern, the old school method is using fingers 3 on the bass and finger 2 on the chord. And this is the method that I learned to play with. This is how I play all of my songs. But there is another method, a newer method that is actually more popular in Europe, where we actually use fingers 4 and 3. Finger 4 on the bass and finger 3 on the chord. So we do this as a new method. This is something that I have never done before. But for this course, I'm going to be using the 4-3 method. Okay, let's get started with this exercise. We are going to be playing C bass followed by 3 C major chords. And then we're going to repeat that 4 times. So that's all that's going to happen for this exercise. We're going to open the bellows for 2 measures and close the bellows for 2 measures. And make sure that you always apply constant pressure to the bellows so that your sound will be clean without cutting in and out. Irrespective of whether you play a button or not, you should always be exerting pressure in the direction that you're moving your bellows. So we'll be getting technique tips throughout all of these exercises. So let's get started. So I'm only going to be doing fingers 4 and 3 for this. And let's do it without the metronome first. So we're going to do bass, chord, chord, chord. So I'm taking my finger 4 away so that you could get visibility on my finger 3 when it's playing the chord. But you're not supposed to do that. When you're playing, you're supposed to play it like this. Make your notes crisp and percussive. We don't want to be dragging along the notes like. We don't want to do that. We want it to be crisp. And another thing is that keep the fingers like right above the buttons and don't try to like hammer it in. This is a bad habit that I have. When I usually play, I play it like this, especially when I'm playing fast. There are 2 problems with that. Number 1 is that I actually generate excessive noise from the buttons, which is not good. And also, this doesn't help in generating excess volume because the volume is completely controlled by the bellows and not by your not by how hard you hit the button. So let's get started. I'm going to start counting 1, 2, 3, 4. We go on the one that follows that. Really, really slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Close. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bass, chord, chord, chord. And your bass strap shouldn't be too tight or too loose. So it should be loose enough so that you're able to like slide your hand up and down. At the same time, it should not be too loose that when you're trying to open the bellows, your hand shouldn't keep moving. So let me show you when it is too loose. So I've made it like, I've loosened it a lot. So now when I try to open my bellows, see, my hand is actually moving inside. So that is not good. So keep it snug not too tight, but snug. So we'll do some practice with the metronome so that you're able to maintain steady tempo with this. I'm gonna keep it like really, really slow. Let's start at like 50 beats per minute, which is incredibly slow. And I have this on a loop. So we're just gonna be opening for 2 measures and closing for 2 measures. And you should also track the notes where it's going. So if at all you miss something out, like don't worry about it. Reset your bellows, come back to the closed position, and then try to resume the next time we go to the beginning of the repetition. So we're gonna keep going. We should hear our metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're gonna stop there. If you want more practice at this speed, feel free to go back and play that in a loop and keep playing along, or get your own metronome and do that. So I'm gonna bump up the speed to 60 beats per minute, which is still not too fast. So the thing that we are trying to train our fingers to do is like the 1 chord, 1 bass, and 3 chords as a repetitive pattern. So let's start again at 60 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat one more time. That's about it. So since this is just the exercise number 1, I don't want to like push on the speed any further than this, because there's no point playing it faster right now. Just keep repeating the exercise and until this becomes like second nature, because you got to be playing your right hand and just keep following the rhythm with this. This is a very straightforward rhythm in 4/4. But before we end this lesson, I also want to do the waltz, which will be in 3/4. So the time signature is 3/4 because there's going to be 3 beats per measure. And this will just feel a little bit different because you're going for that bass without playing that 4th beat, which is the 3rd repetition of the chord. You're just going like bass, chord, chord, bass, chord, chord. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Keep opening. 1, 2, 3. Close now. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Repeat. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. repeat 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's 3 times. Let's do 3 more repetitions. I'm going to bump up the tempo to 60 beats per minute. And counting in 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, close. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, open. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right, so that's about it. So keep repeating this as many number of times as you'd like. Just spend like a few minutes for like a couple of sessions, and then you should get the hang of it, because there's a lot of things going on here, right? You have to focus on like applying pressure, opening and closing the bellows, and also like figuring out which finger you're playing, and then releasing the fingers and then pressing it again. A lot of things going on, but just stick with it. The trick is to play really, really slow. So one of the most common problems that I find with a lot of beginners is that they go too fast. They go too fast for no reason. And remember that any repetition that you do that is not even, like not strictly in tempo, and is full of mistakes, is a wasted repetition. You're just not making efficient use of your time that you put into practice. Just do it at a speed that you're comfortable with. Do it at a speed that you cannot get it wrong. I don't want you to be doing this. There are like a lot of people that do that because you don't realize that you can be going slow. There's no point playing it fast if like 20% of the time that you do something, you get it wrong. It's even worse if you're getting it wrong like every other note. So please stick to a really, really, really slow tempo. Like even if the 50 beats per minute that we played here, if that was still a speed at which you're getting mistakes, feel free to slow it down. You could do your own counting or get a metronome. You could get a free metronome app on your smartphone, like Android or iPhone, doesn't matter what. There are tons of apps out there. Play really, really slow. There is no speed that is too slow, but there are a lot of speeds that are too fast. So you could even be playing at this slow, something like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Play it at a speed so that you have enough time between the notes to basically think about everything that needs to happen next. You should be thinking about, am I going to play a chord again? Am I going to play the bass? Am I still going to continue opening my bellows? Or should I like switch direction of my bellows? All of that is taking up the processing capacity of your brain. And don't do yourself a disservice and make it harder for yourself by playing it too fast. It'll be like you're right there, you got to do something and you don't know what you got to do. You don't want to be playing like, what next? What should I play like a chord or a bass? And then you're like stranded there, and that's a wasted repetition. It builds anxiety, and it'll just it's not good in any way. Just do it really, really slow, and then gradually build up the speed, and that'll be a sustainable growth. And don't try to go too fast. And I'll see you with the next lesson, which will introduce new note and new chord. We'll be looking at the G bass and the G chord. We just looked at the C bass and the C chord. We'll be switching between both in the future, and then we'll be adding like new basses and chords and all sort of fun stuff. Until then, I hope that you have nice practice sessions and also good time. I'll see you in the next lesson.